Great news! I got some Tusk D-Flex handguards to fit to the CB500 today. So ever since I got the bike, I've kind of been wanting handguards for a couple of reasons, but primarily to protect the bike in case that I tip it or drop it. The handguards will take the brunt of the blow and help to reduce any chance of the handlebars bending or breaking off any levers or controls. These may require a little bit of massaging of the controls, again, sort of like in my previous video with the bar risers. I had to move a few things around. Hopefully these install as easily as those did. Hopefully I don't have to do any true modifications, but we'll see. And the second reason why I want these actually is for wind protection for my hands. That's kind of a minor thing, especially because these plastic guards aren't all that big. So let's go over to the bike and see how they might fit up. So over here on the right hand side of the bike where the brake is where my main concern for fitment is going to be. And primarily it's going to be up here by the master cylinder reservoir. When I mount this up, I fear that it might not quite clear the banjo fitting for the brake line. Hopefully it'll be in far enough that this piece, the mounting bracket for the handlebar, will allow it. So I'm going to get I'm going to get this piece on first and then see how this is going to get, mock up the guard itself. So with a little bit of fighting with the fasteners, I finally got this mounted up. So let's, again, kind of mock up the way it's going to be sitting here on the bike. I think I can work with that. However, there's a little bit of interference on the ball end of the brake lever, so I will probably end up having to replace this with a shorter one, even though I believe these are designed to work, or they were supposed to work with how large the levers are for the controls. So, but maybe it's because I have to have mine so far in because of the brake. Well, next I'm going to try and get these bar ends off. Now the factory way to remove these bar end links, or the bar ends, is to take a screwdriver into the screw that's in the end of the bar and then loosen it and remove the bar end. All right, that's pretty simple. But then you have to remove the grip to undo a couple clips in here that bring out the weight damper that's inside the handlebar. I don't want to remove the grips because I don't want to either, destroy them while trying to take them out, or have to deal with getting them back on and gluing them back in. So Daniel, again from the Shift Up Adventure channel from Ireland, showed this technique where you pretty much just wedge the whole thing off, or you just pry it off. So I'm going to try that technique because I really don't want to deal with taking off the grips at this point. So I'm going to try it with my nylon tools to see if I can get it off that way. If it's not going to work that way, I'll use steel tools with some either leather or cloth so that I don't damage any of the rest of the parts of the bike. This will forcefully bend those little clips that I was talking about inside, but I'm replacing it with a different system here anyway, so I don't think that's a huge loss. Plus Honda, I believe, is pretty good about getting the parts that you need. So I will now try to remove that with plastic. Okay, after a little bit of fighting with that and really not wanting to be too forceful so I don't break it, I'm going to be using a slide hammer to try and pull it out. This may end badly, but I will, gotta try something, right? Would you look at that? So I would say from my experience right now, a slide hammer is the way to do it. Absolutely. So get a thumb screw, drill a hole through it, or find some adapter for your slide hammer, and then just hammer it out. I'm gonna do the other side and I'll be right back. Today must be my lucky day because the delivery truck just arrived with more parts for the bike. I got a genuine Japanese Honda oil filter, a super small 1/4" drive ratchet to have with the toolkit on the bike, and some Japanese industrial standard driver bits. These are a lot better than Phillips, trust me. And finally, some engine oil. I've decided to go with Castrol Activo 1030 T4. This is a part synthetic, not a full synthetic, but the price was good. I've run Castrol in my cars for a very long time with great success, so I figured I'd start here, and if I don't like it, I can probably switch to something else without having spent too much money on this. It's the moment of truth. Let's see if it'll fit and clear the bar and the brake reservoir. So I'm getting interference here on the brake lever, but otherwise it clears everything over here on the hydraulic side of the brakes, which is good. This is what I was more concerned about. I can always get a replacement lever, or I could just cut this one off because you can replace these for, well, pretty much nothing. So that might be the route that I go down for now. I'm gonna think about it for a few minutes, but before then, let's go to the clutch side. I spared you me trying to fight getting this clamp on. So let's see if this side has the same interference problems as the other side. I'm going to assume yes. Yep, that's correct. You can probably see there it is way off and doesn't fit. So I will have to shorten both levers. A little bit of time has passed and you might be thinking, Casey, that clutch lever doesn't look quite right. What's wrong? Well, this is actually the original clutch lever to the bike. I think it was the third day I had this bike. I accidentally tipped it over at 0 miles an hour onto its left side because I was coming into the garage. I was going a little bit too fast, and it wasn't so much that it was inexperience or lack of skill that made me tip it over, but it was just a little bit of lack of attention. So I wasn't paying attention to my speed as I was coming up into the parking spot for the bike, and I grabbed the brake a little bit too hard. The front suspension loaded up. When it unloaded, the bike tipped over and snapped off the end of this, but I ended up rounding it over and drove with it like this for a few days. And then that's when I bought the an OEM replacement handle. So it's actually a good thing that I did that in a way, because it actually fits perfectly with the new handguard. So because these OEM handles are so cheap, what I think I will do is cut the brake lever down to be an equivalent length to this one on the other side, and then I'll just order an OEM replacement like that I did for the clutch lever, and then just have, this one and the other one around if I need to swap them back on, or if I ever could sell the bike so the next owner can have original equipment. Because we all want the original stuff, even if we don't want it on our bike, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna go and chop this off and smooth it out just like this one. After just a couple minutes with a hacksaw, belt sander, a little bit of sandpaper, some steel wool, I think that is quite presentable. And no, it doesn't have a ball end anymore, which could be, you know, a problem with safety, but I have so much room after my fingers anyway that me personally, I don't find this to be a problem. However, if you're concerned with the safety, then definitely don't do this or buy shortened handlebars. Sorry, shortened control levers. As you know me to do, I did add some blue moly to the pin to reduce any wear, because the factory is either very stingy on grease or doesn't grease it at all. Ta-da! Plenty of clearance, and still plenty enough for me to get 3 fingers on the brake, which is really all I use anyway. Now it's time to adjust this bracket. And attach the bar to it. I think that works as a preliminary fit up. So now I'll do the other side. I'm gonna do that one off camera because it's the same thing of what I just did here. So if you ignore the fact that the bike is tilted, I think that the 2 guards are pretty much even, but you will notice the clutch lever right there is hanging lower than the brake lever. And a lot of that just has to do with the ergonomics of the levers and where they need to be in order to make the bar risers and whatever remaining slack is in the cables and wires work. So I don't care so much that the levers are off center or, you know, not symmetrical, but I want those guards to be as symmetrical as possible, and I can't go any lower on that one, so that one is just gonna have to look a little weird. But I'm pretty happy with that, so I think we can move on to the next step. All right, the next and final step actually is to tighten down the fastener at the end of the handlebar, and that will cause that tapered section that expands to expand. Sorry, I'm tripping over my words here a little bit. To expand and grab the inside of the handlebar so the whole thing becomes as rigid as possible. All right, and that's all it takes. That's now locked down. All the other fasteners are done. So this job is now finished. All right, I think these look really good on the bike. They match perfectly to the character of the bike with the anodized aluminum and the black plastic. One last thing that I should note if and when you install these yourself is to make sure that your throttle still works. As mine right now is sticking open, which is not good. And that's because the plastic on the inside here is interfering with the grip on the throttle. So I'm going to adjust and play with that a little bit until I can get it just the way that I want it. But other than that, the job is done. So hopefully you found that helpful for you if you want to install these in your CB500. Let me know if you try these out and if they work for you. Until next time, see ya.